Welcome to Creatives Grab Coffee, the podcast on the business of video production.
Creatives Grab Coffee is hosted by Dario Nuri and Kirill Lazarov from Labs Productions. Our goal is to share knowledge and experiences from video production professionals around the world. Whether you're a freelancer looking to start your own business or a seasoned business owner aiming to scale your company, this is the show for you.
Join us as we develop a community of like-minded creatives looking to learn and help each other grow. Welcome to the business of video production. Welcome to Creatives Grab Coffee.
Before we get started with the show, let's go over today's sponsors.
Do you have a shoot in Toronto? Do you need crew or a strong production partner to help you with your project? Labs Productions is one of the top production companies in Toronto and your go-to video partner.
With our strong creative skills and extensive network, we can help you achieve your goal. Labs Productions is able to offer you production services, white label services, or finder fees for project handoffs.
Reach out to us on our website at lapsproductions.com to learn more.
My name is Miran. Welcome to Canada Film Equipment. We are a boutique rental house based in Toronto. We are here to help you guys out with all production sizes. Feel free to contact us to get a quote if you are a production house and you're looking for lighting, camera packages, or lighting and group fan packages. You can see our contact information in the link below. We are more than happy to help you guys out. Make sure you follow and subscribe to creativesgrabcoffee.com. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Matt. Welcome to Audio Process. We are a boutique audio company doing location sound, sound design, post-sound, ADR, Foley. We service equipment. We do all your audio needs here in Toronto. We got you covered. Come on down, audioprocess.ca. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and all of the other internet things to creativesgrabcoffee.com. They'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting for you, and we're all going to have a real good time.
And now, let's begin the show.
So what were you saying? Your one big regret was what?
No, just looking at you and guessing your age, probably my one big regret is not starting a business sooner.
I'm 52 though.
Are you 52?
I'm 69.
No, God. You guys make us look old.
You look really good.
Yeah, I was going to say, you look really good at 52. Because I know what 52 looks like.
Yes.
No, I'm just messing. I'm 31. Kirill's 30.
Yeah,
But I feel 52. If that helps.
Well, yeah. Nothing we can do about that.
How old did you guys when you started?
We're in our low 50s, and we started this business at 39. Right.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
14 years ago. Yeah.
That's a first. I will say, like, most of the guests that we've had on the show either have started like in their mid to late 20s typically.
Yeah.
When they kind of jumped in. But tell us a little bit about like how that kind of came about. It's like or like basically at 40, that's when you guys decided to start the business. Like, what was that like?
Well, Brett and I are both veterans of television and film. And so we spent the first half of our careers in the trenches, learning storytelling, learning filmmaking, doing all sorts of learning design, doing all sorts of different things. And we came together at the Oprah Winfrey Show, where he was one of the lead designers and I was one of the lead editors. And then when the show ended, which is all you can count on in television, both of us were in Chicago, planted roots, needed the next thing, and so we started Bottle Rocket.
Was the Oprah show in Chicago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've always wondered that.
Literally 5 blocks away.
Yeah. So the show ran for, I think, 25 years, I want to say.
I think that was the round number or something like that.
I was there for the last 9-ish, 9.5, and I think, Brett, you were there for, how long were you there?
I don't know, for 12. Definitely like the last 9 and then a little kind of start, stop,
So what made you
that's
guys go
where you
into
guys
like
met.
video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was two different angles. We were both doing what we were doing, design and editing, but we both had experience and desire to do more than just those roles. And you can kind of get, siloed into a role in any production house or anything like that. So on our own, we would have our own design firms or companies, or Dan would go direct, or I would, this was when 5Ds just came out. So I would, borrow the camera from like the in-house photographer and borrow a lens from this person, borrow the tripod from that guy and borrow a light. And I would just start to go shoot just to do it, just to be like, get my hands on stuff. So I would shoot some of the bumpers for the show or some other stuff. So just trying to like get more involved with the whole filmmaking process. And then when the show stopped, it was like, well, I want to be a director, and no one's gonna say, hey, bro, will you please go direct this thing? So we just kind of said, we're directors, let's go make videos. And and we would start very kind of slow, and it would be like, well, I'll be director and you be the camera guy. I'll be the camera guy and you be the director. We would just flip flop and just start shooting stuff. And we were lucky enough to kind of get some early clients. We basically made our first video and did it for free and just said, this is the type of video we want to make. And so we just went and made it. And it was just like a short documentary of like a frame shop. And then we're like, okay, cool. We made one thing. That's kind of cool. And then we kind of had one calling card and then started to talk to people and slowly build a business.
You're leaving a few things out, but yeah.
Yes.
You're leaving out the fact that you directed a feature.
Yes.
However many years before.
Nice.
And I spent a decade in Hollywood, like, behind some very talented people. So we weren't going in cold when we started the company, but it was our independence we were calling on.
But it's still different, right? Like you guys were
Yeah.
in like the film and TV side of things, and then you went into the corporate end, which is it's kind of like a different animal in a way, right? So you are kind of starting first. You do have the experience, though, which is really useful.
Yes. Whereas when you're 25, what the hell do you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's you're just like, let's grab a camera, let's grab a thing, let's go do it. And that, by the way, is amazing. And that energy and that, bottomless, pit of like, just wanting to do and grow and do it. Where we kind of entered that corporate field as more experienced people, as people who had done video content at the highest level. Our work had literally been seen by billions of people, kind of a thing, with the Oprah Show platform. So it wasn't like, can we pull this off? It was like, great, we left broadcast kicking and screaming a little bit, and it's like, well, feels like there's going to be a space here in digital. Maybe we can do some content. So it was pushing away from our niche at the Oprah Show, but embracing all the stuff we love to do and putting our flag in the ground that way.
Yeah, and you started at a good time too, right? When the DSLR revolution was starting, right?
That was it.
That opened accessibility to so many people.
Yeah, we're not really gearheads, but we knew early on, just based on a couple of projects, that we were going to buy a couple of 5Ds and, some accessories to support it, some microphones, etc. And we were off to the races. And that's pretty much all the gear we've purchased, because as we've grown, we decided early on to work with crews that have their own gear, and all the camera gear and everything has advanced so quickly that we didn't want to get into the gear game. So we just work with a lot of, all of our crews come with cameras, or we go to a camera house and rent. We just do it that way.
We fell into the gear trap early on, where it kind of because it gets to be so fun. You're like, oh, this new toy came out.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. In fact, there was one of our, regular DPs who was such a gearhead. Like, all we had to say is, "Did you see that? You see that new gimbal?" He's like, "What?
Oh, you guys were enablers.
They were
enablers.
And then the next shoot, he'd be like, "Look what I got!" So it's like we didn't have to spend any money. And
Bad
truly,
influences.
oh my God, And Dan's right. It's like we bought those 2 or 3 5Ds, like Mark II, Mark III, I think is as new as we got. And then maybe 5, 6, 7 years later, we're like, we should get that EOS R, just we have one 4K camera in house. But we really, truly haven't bought any camera gear in a decade. I mean, truly in a long time. Because why? We've got plenty of people that we work with. In Chicago, with our crews, it's different in every town, different in every setup. But the guys we work with own cameras, own lenses, own lights. Even camera guys will have some audio equipment. So it's not working with the DP. And he goes, great, what camera should we rent? It's like these guys have 2, 3, 4 cameras ready to go, from, you know, a smaller Canon or a smaller Sony to an FX9 or a, you know, C500 Mark II, or to an Arri 35 now, or to a Red. So they have the whole range, and they just roll up, and it's like, I'd rather work with the gear they know and love than be like, you gotta work with this Blackmagic camera. Who
And
cares?
you guys know sometimes the camera, the sensor, and the lenses, well, the lenses always matter, but sometimes the sensor matters. But most times you're making content that's on a website, on a phone, being watched on the train, during a commute with, you know, scratchy headphones. Like it kind of doesn't matter if you can light it and you can tell the story which camera you're using. Most times in a content space. And when it does, we step up and we
get the fancy camera.
Get the cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of like adopted that mentality as well, just where we're not looking to be constantly trying to get the next piece of gear that we absolutely need, or that we think will be fun. Like, we only get equipment now if it's actually going to be essential, that we feel like we're going to use on multiple shoots and things like that. And like the difference for you guys when you started was like you'd already been in the industry for so many years, so you had an idea from the technical side of things how a lot of things worked. Whereas a lot of people who get into the industry fresh, like we did, we had no clue what the industry was like. So all we could do is like what resources were available, buy a camera, and then just learn on the go. So that's kind of like how I feel like people who tend to be a little bit more gearheads are people who are jumping into it and trying to learn the industry a little bit, you know, understand the technical side of things. But like everyone has a very different kind of path. So like I was just curious, like how did it feel like when you kind of jumped out of it? Was it like a fish out of water moment, or did you have at least a bit more of an idea of like what the business was going to progress through down the line?
We had no idea. I feel comfortable saying that, Brett, you can correct me. We just knew that there was a space, right? We knew that video was going to be a thing. It already was big in our life in broadcast and films, but we just knew that video was a space, but we didn't really know how much it was going to take off. It was definitely tiptoeing into it to be like, oh my God, we need to hire people. We need an editor. We needed this. We needed that. We can't keep up. And we didn't, I don't want to say we didn't expect it. Of course, we hoped for that, but we didn't know, you know, and especially myself coming at it from editing, I knew right away that I couldn't edit and direct and produce and run a company, but I didn't think it would happen as quickly as it did. And we had an editor within, I think, honestly, the first year.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty
Like
quick.
in-house?
Yeah. Pretty quick.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, we got a lot done, the two of us. Literally, we would go and shoot. And again, like one of us would be director, one of us would be camera op. Occasionally, we'd hire a real audio tech who would, you know, come with us, and or maybe another camera op, and we go shoot, and we go back, and I'd do the design work. Dan would edit. Occasionally, I would edit, you know, and we would write it and do all of it. But very, very quickly, I don't know if we got this advice that early, but if you're in the company, you're not running the company. You know, if you're doing everything, you kind of can't manage it. And very quickly, it was like, well, how are we going to sell? What are we going to do? You start to move from being creatives to being business people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We got into this because we liked old cameras and say action and cut and make cool shit. Amazing. That's great. But at some point when you're like, we're going to do this and this is going to pay our mortgage, that we needed to learn to be good business people. And the product was just a widget. Now, we happened to know that product and we loved it and we did it, but there had to be two sides. There had to be the creative side of the business, the people that made the widget, happened to be us, and then there had to be the people that ran the business, which is everything else, right? Sales, marketing, finance, eventually HR, and all those other things that go along with it. And so it was like, well, should I be editing all week or should I be trying to sell all week? Well, you should probably try to sell all week, you know? And after that first hire, from then on, even until now, our hiring process became this road to how can we remove all of the tasks from Dan and Brett that can be done by somebody else and leave the tasks that can only be done by Dan and Brett to Dan and Brett. So what could be handed off? Well, we can hand off editing. We can probably hand off shooting. We can hand off audio. We can hand off design, right? And we said we wanted to build a brand around us, our style, not our personalities, but just like it's two guys. We're the company, and kind of is what it is. So you try to start to peel away those responsibilities so you have more time to run the business, to do the other stuff. And so that first hire was freeing Dan up. The second hire was freeing me up. Was that we hired a designer. Okay, great. Now we've got an editor and designer. Now who's going to manage them and the projects? And then you kind of hire a producer and so on and so on.
How did you
So
guys
that's
have
the
so
slow road.
much? How did you guys have so much success in like the first year? Like, 'cause it seems like you guys were like overwhelmed with business, right to the point where you got to bring on other people so you can handle the managerial aspects of it.
I
Yeah,
think
not cheap to do that.
Yeah.
partially because I'm insane. Like, we just keep pushing forward. That's what we do. And so it just becomes a numbers game. And backing up, I'd say maybe that first year our editor wasn't a staff member, but they worked.
Like a
But they
freelancer,
worked
basically.
every day. You know,
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
permalancer.
freelancer.
So
And then
it
at some
probably-
point we're like, should we do this? Oh my God, are we going to hire somebody? How are
Right.
we going to pay them?
Math,
Like, it was a
after
big-
a year of them being freelance, and it only makes sense to bring them on full time.
It was like cheaper than keeping them as freelance, basically,
Yes.
right?
Yes. When
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
works every day, you know,
Yeah, you
even
just
with
do the math.
benefits, it just makes more sense for the company to bring them on full time.
And that first year too, remember, we left the Oprah show. So imagine several hundred video professionals, producers, writers, all the people at all the levels of the Oprah show. You know, maybe a third of them went to LA to go be with Oprah in LA. But the rest,
Everyone else needed.
we're a
an
video
editor.
producer for
Everyone else
the
needed
Dental
a shooter.
Association. We're a producer for this agency. We're a thing for this
Oh.
agency. We're a producer for this medical company. We're a
Right,
thing for
right.
this. And Dan and I at the Oprah show build reputations as being nice guys who did good work. And so we used that professional network of ours to say, hey, remember us? We really liked. We did all that great stuff together. I see you're at Acme Company. Hey, let us know if you need a hand. And that first year or two, we did a massive amount of work with people we knew of our
Right.
professional network. All of our sales was via network connections. Nothing was outbound or cold call. I mean, it was outbound to that professional network, but nothing was cold call. Nothing was inbound. It was all, hey, we exist. We're a company. Let us know if you need a hand.
I can imagine how hard it must have been for the other video production companies if there's suddenly an influx of like all these producers that are going and grabbing all these like corporate clients. That must have been like
Yeah.
mayhem.
Well, also it was right on the cusp of. If I tell you that in 2011 when this all went down, right? 2011, right?
Yeah, 11.
Yeah.
Well,
2011 when this all went down, that I didn't even know I could get a job as an in-house video person. Like, you heard about it at larger corporations and you knew about it from watching really dry industrials when you were coming up, but you didn't really know that that was a gig the way it is now. Like, that's like that's a gig that people really aspire to get, like being in-house on the client side or being in it. And so there was just a need, and honestly, had I known that job existed, maybe I just would have gone with that job.
Good thing you didn't.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, it was just a very different, like, everything was transitioning from the traditional way of communicating with commercials, and YouTube obviously was around, but it wasn't what it is today, to where it is now. So there was this huge, now there's a ton of internal positions in video and design and editorial, and so it was just a very different time, even only 13 years ago, as you know.
and that was part of our hunch was not as simple as, hey, these videos on the internet, this might be a thing. But it was like, you would, we saw like, wow, it feels like there's going to be real budgets just for digital content. We had lived in the land of TV, broadcast, film, where there's so many cooks in the kitchen and every production's massive. And, but it's like, it felt like there could be an appetite for smaller productions that are done well. And because of the 5Ds, DSLRs, you can make stuff look good. We still look back at footage we shot on those, and it doesn't look like an iPhone 2. You know what I mean? You look back and you're like, this shit still looks good.
That's
you know what I mean? It still looks great. So that was our hunch. Hey, this might be a space where people are going to start to need content, and as they're figuring out, there's not going to be massive budgets. But we were wrong. There were real budgets pretty quickly.
You mentioned how like the old footage still looks good today. I know for a fact there's some shooters that up until like 2-3 years ago were still shooting on 5Ds. Not like the first one, but like the last Mark model that came out.
Truly, for so much of what we do, anything that you're delivering 1080, it's perfectly fine. It really
It's
is.
still requested to this day.
Yeah.
Like all the outputs, all the deliverables are always 1080. Like 4K is
Most
just
of the time,
in case they ask for it. But
Yeah.
I think most phones don't show true 4K anyways. Like they just go up to 2K. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, it's still HD.
It's also just an easier workflow, or like kind of for them as well at the end of the day, because the file sizes are smaller. Sometimes their websites, if they need it uploaded directly to the website, a 1 gig file is going to be a lot better than a 10 to 15 gig file. Obviously, if it depends on how big
Right.
the files are. Like if you're doing webinars, for example, that's almost always going to be in 1080. Sometimes I've heard of people even doing it in 720 exports just so that it can fit onto those platforms and everything like that.
We've had that.
But-
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny because like now there's like a new cameras coming out where they're still boasting 8K and things like that for like the consumer area. And I'm thinking like, man, if you were to incorporate an 8K workflow, that's gonna change everything. I mean, like just switching from 1080 to 4K, you have to get bigger SD cards, sometimes different types of cards. Then you need all the storage, the backup storage, the cloud storage. It's exponentially more expensive.
It really, really, really grows. We did one project where we did shoot 8K. It was actually for Apple, and they wanted to be 8K RAW. No, yeah, 8K RAW, and then they sent us 3 or 4 iPhones that they wanted us to shoot ProRes RAW 4K, and we had multiple cameras shooting 8K and in slow-mo. It was like the Red Epic. It was over 30 terabytes of footage for 2 days of shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
banana.
I mean,
That-
we just had a
that's
team
crazy.
member transferring files all day. And of course, who got overtime? That guy, because it took forever, right? We underestimated the time.
even with fast drives, it was
Yeah.
still,
Fastest
even
drives
just getting it off
all
the
day,
phones.
swapping cars, and still it took
Could
It's
finish
two
reading a book by
huge
the time
rays.
it's
about
done.
10 hours
Yeah.
to transfer a day of shooting.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's why DITs are such a key role in the industry. It's almost like the equivalent of like, when you invest in a camera, like say like a DSLR, and then you get all the necessary equipment that can help support it, like a tripod, slider, all that stuff. A lot of people talk about, oh yeah, I want to upgrade and get a new camera, like the nice, really good RE or something like that. It's like, okay, great, you bought the RE, that was $100,000. Did you think about the slider? Did you think about the gimbal? Did you think about the tripod? Like that 100K
another
turns to
100,000.
500K.
Yeah.
Carol, the best part,
right.
the best part is when they spend a lot of money on the lenses and the camera, and then they have like a $500 tripod.
Oh my god, I've
That's the best
seen. I know some guys that still use really old school tripods, and they're putting like their C70s or C200s sometimes on it, and I'm like, I mean, it works, but it's like all it takes is one little bump of the shoulder for that thing to come crashing down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's really just a business conversation of where do you want to invest your money. If you're a shooter that can get paid for that camera, and those cameras are like, what are they, like what's the package, like $2,000 a day or something, like, awesome for you. But if you're
Yeah.
us, who, you know, we go out and shoot, then we spend a lot of time in post. Like, there's no way we would ever pay. We'd never pay it back.
Yeah. There's no point at that point. Like once you're being like a freelance shooter versus a business, it's like still like you have to have like a business mindset for both, but the business models are very different. You have to focus on different things to invest in and things like that. If you're a freelancer, a lot of the time equipment is something that is key because that's what a lot of productions do look for. You don't necessarily have to buy everything, but a lot more key things that are attractive, a lot of companies are going to be looking for. Whereas production companies, clients are not going to be like, did you get that extra tripod? Did you get that extra slider or anything like that?
They're not asking for lenses, or they're not asking for, you know, occasionally someone will say, can we shoot on a red because someone told them red was good or something.
Yeah.
But besides that, but there are situations, there are video production companies where there could be some people in house, someone who's like a PA or someone who's an editor who's also a shooter, and occasionally they want to go out and shoot stuff. And like there are affordable great cameras, like still like DSLRs or a Blackmagic or whatever, where it's the body is a couple grand or $2 or $3 or $4 grand, and you can get some simple base lenses that are pretty good, or go rent lenses for $50 a day. And now you've got an in-house shooter, you own the gear, and you can go and shoot and you can make more money. We're just not set up for that.
Well, we're not shooters.
We're not shooters in-house. So there are video production company scenarios where, yeah, that makes sense. Great. You got a shooter in-house, or you're a shooter. Yes, own a little bit of gear. But then when it comes to everything else, yeah, hire a gaffer and rent a truck, and there you go, as opposed to paying X tens of thousands of dollars to own the gear. And oh, by the way, you have to store the gear and maintain the gear and all of that. So you can pick and choose. It's not, dear God, if you're a production company, don't buy gear. It's just you need to figure out what's right for your business plan and what works for you.
There's no better investment than a C-stand. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Or a tripod. A good tripod. Tripod can last you a very long time as well. Yeah. You know, the crazy thing about our industry right now is that if anyone's wanting to get into it, it's so easy, affordable, so affordable to learn and just kind of jump right into it. Like people are always saying like, oh, like what's the latest like 4K camera that we can get so we could start shooting or something. I see these posts all the time. And then just out of curiosity, I was like, what were some of like the older cameras that were like the holy grails back in the day? Like you remember the C100 Mark II when it was brand new? That thing cost like $8-9 grand to get. Mm-hmm. It goes for like $500 on Kijiji or eBay these days. Right. You want to learn filmmaking? Buy one of those cameras. That's all you need. And it's just like, oh my God.
The Mark II is still good to this day. That's a good sensor.
We talk about it all the time. Like if there's a short film to be made, the absolute right thing to do is what you just said. Go out and purchase a 10-year-old camera, because 10 years ago is still 2014.
14, oh my God.
You know what I mean?
We started.
Like the cameras are amazing in 2014, and you'll be able to make a short film with a $500 camera that looks as good as anything else.
Exactly.
There's really no excuse nowadays. Eh? Back in the day, at least you could have said, I don't have the equipment. Now it's like, if you want to do it, you can.
Even on an iPhone, you've seen all those different like Zacuda iPhone mounts, and there's amazing Blackmagic software where like you could shoot 4K ProRes RAW on an iPhone and really control it. And it's like, yeah, there really is no excuse, between that and you buy a one by one LED with a silk, and it's like you're ready to go, go shoot something. So yeah.
Like the camera's not what makes a video or a short film or anything like that good. It is the tool that you need to kind of get started for sure, but it's not the thing that makes it. What makes it? It's the storytelling. It's the quality of the writing, the content, like what your vision is for the project. Everything else is just a tool at the end of the day. Like this is why, once you get down the whole gear rabbit hole of like, pixel pinching or whatever that term is called, it's never ending, and people have to remember that, especially people jumping into the industry, it's like you have to focus on content, because that is also the best business move strategy for you moving forward, because you need to develop that skill more so than anything else. The tools, they will constantly be changing, as we've seen over the years. one of the things I was gonna also touch on, like we've been reminiscing a lot. I just realized, about the good old days. How Bottle Rocket started. Well, like where is Bottle Rocket today? Like for you guys in terms of as a business, like what's today like for you guys?
I'll go. Well, we're trying to diversify a little bit, and we're a video production company, first and foremost. That's our core functionality. In addition to video production, we have added another service, SEO strategy. That was something we did for us as a company. Like, hey, we want business to come to us, and so we hired our director of marketing a few years ago, and Tamika, and she dramatically, overhauled everything we were doing from our website perspective. And so we went from being an unranked company to having, 500 keywords in like the top 25 and, 50 in the top 10. And we're very, very well ranked. If you type video production company or motion graphics, we're in the top 5. If you put the word Chicago in there, we're in the top 2.
That's how I found you guys.
There you go. So,
Yep.
So it's something we did, and then we thought, we should do this for our clients. And it's the exact same people that are coming to us asking for a video. So we kind of took a year to kind of explore and understand what that might mean. And so we added this service, about 6 months ago, and have a handful of clients now, and it's great. It's nice to have that, and it feels like a superpower as a video production company because we can look at every video from an SEO perspective, and they all should be looked at from an SEO perspective. You want people to view the video.
How does it differ from video marketing? Because a lot of companies, if they're adding an additional service, they'll add like video marketing, for example.
Right, and we do that too, but really there's no such thing as video marketing by itself, is the truth. Like, we kind of position ourselves as video SEO strategy, but you have to do it holistically. Yeah, you can tag the video the right way, and yes, you can add subtitles and the transcript, and there's a few things you can do, and put the file name being the right thing, like all that kind of YouTube-y stuff. But at the end of the day, you really have to look at like what's happening on the page that the video lives on, what's happening on the site in general, and what keywords and what priority keywords are you trying to attract your audience. And so you kind of have to look at everything around SEO, knowing videos, maybe the tip of the spear as far as some things go. So it really is just looking, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? Who's your target audience? And then you kind of look at all of that and you do this stuff. There isn't one thing, and there's no magic. We haven't cracked the code or anything. Like, we're just doing what you're supposed to do and doing it really well, and that's it. So, and right now we're just selling to our existing clients and saying, hey, we're doing this, let's talk. So it's been successful there. So we have a very small pool of people we're talking to, a few hundred. And so there's that aspect. For video production, we continue to grow. A massive amount of our business, comes to us via inbound, via SEO stuff. And so we get new opportunities every day that we're trying to manage and see what's the right fit for us. We're always then connecting with everyone we've ever worked with before. So, we have our outbound strategy, which is just connecting with existing clients, or someone will have been at one client and then they quit that job and they go move somewhere else, and we go, hey, I saw you left United and you went to here. Just want to let you know we'd love to work with you again, kind of a thing. So, we're very big on just our existing network of people that know us and like us and have paid us to make videos and are happy with our work, and we just try to keep in contact with them. So we're growing the video side of the business, we're growing the SEO side of the business. We're going to break off and do a branded content side of the business as well, under kind of a different moniker soon. So,
But can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by breaking off into a branded content?
Well, Dan, why don't you actually talk about that?
Yeah,
part?
I think where we are today is this
Camera focusing issues.
Condensation on the lens.
It is very warm in here, no doubt.
Oh wow, I guessed it.
Doing one of our edit bays.
Give it a little wipe. There we
There we
I
go.
think he's gonna get a fingerprint on the lens.
Is it working?
No, I meant with a
Focus?
cloth, but yeah.
My filter?
It's okay. You got a Pro Mist filter on it now. Okay, it's a creative
Pro
choice.
You were shooting at an 8K and it's too much, so we gotta like
Yeah, it's too much now, guys. We got to do
Pro
a
Mist
podcast.
filter.
Branded content.
Yeah, where we are today is moving a little bit more towards entertainment as much as we can, baby steps every day, which includes a branded content initiative. I mean, we've basically been doing branded content, intermittently for the past, handful of years, but it's really just a commitment on our part to focus on higher level storytelling, a little bit, videos that find the customer at a different stage of the journey and focus a little bit more on storytelling versus product or service or value or education, but just lean into the storytelling a little bit more.
Can you give us like an example, like the type of video?
Well, I guess the first one that comes to mind, Brett brought up, we did this project for Apple, and really it was just the story of a group of glass blowers, right? It wasn't for Apple. We weren't selling a phone or a computer or a camera. We were just, telling this story, and then at the end of it, Apple puts their name on it,
Oh, I see.
And
Yeah.
of course, the Brett set it up. They sent us. They had camera requirements. They sent us phones. There were things about the video, the requirements from the client that were necessary. And Apple's a tech company, so those are tech requirements. But the idea is basically telling the story. For branded content specifically, telling the story, any story that fits in with a brand that that allows the consumer to identify with that brand.
Kirill, who's that company from Seattle that did something similar? We had them on the
Oh, Offbeat?
Offbeat was doing something similar, no?
Ish. They were like they were doing something where they were kind of more so trying to tell local stories, kind of like short docs and things like that. It's a little different though what Dan and Brett are doing. Like branded content is like a very popular aspect where a lot of companies are trying to tell different stories, like as they mentioned that they're doing with Apple, where it's not trying to sell so much, right? They're just trying to attach their name to good stories. That's what essentially branded content is.
Right.
It's like short docs almost,
Could be
but
short
sponsored
docs,
by a
sometimes,
company.
right. It really promotes a brand or a lifestyle, which is part of a brand. So
Yeah.
I think a great obvious example is if you were REI or any camping company and you made a short film about people camping, there's probably going to be the product in the shot, the tent, the thermos or whatever they're using,
yeah.
but you're never
Yeah.
going to mention it. You're not going to talk about how great this tent is or how waterproof it is. You're just going to show people living the
Right.
lifestyle, and then at the end, the logo comes up.
Yeah.
It's a
If it
use
even
case.
comes up.
The other one from Boston, oh my god, I forget everyone's name. They did something similar for a camping oh my god, I'm forgetting the name. Carol, do you remember? The guy from Boston?
I'm trying to think of which one you're talking about.
Let me go
Yeah.
on our website quickly. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've been telling stories for so long. If you include 10 years at the Oprah show and then all the work we did 10 plus years before that in this business, that it really is just kind of like full circle, right? We started
That's what I was
this
gonna
business,
say.
and the business is making videos, and we get clients, and some of our clients make a product, a physical product. Some of our clients are software as a service. Some are, we do internal. We do all kinds of stuff. And so to say we're, going to focus on branded content is really just to say we're going to continue to tell stories and seek out clients that maybe are a little bit less in the sales space. So a little bit more
Yeah.
about story first and not product or service first. But it's the same thing we've been doing for decades, really.
I do have a question about that, but but first to kind of like lead into it, you said you're going to break off and kind of like focus on that a bit. Is that still going to be under the Bottle Rocket name, or are you guys coming up with a different company name for that?
We are going to put it under a different moniker, and mostly because Bottle Rocket as it is now isn't going to really change, or isn't going to change at all. But it's really just perception. You know, if you come to our website and you see a bunch of product videos, you don't necessarily think high-level storytelling, versus you come to this new site and you see high-level storytelling, that's immediately what you think.
Like, we're going
Right.
to use the same videos and be like, hey, look, here's the
Right,
10
right. It's not
random
hard for
content
us to
videos
make
we've
the
made.
switch
It's not
'cause-
starting from zero. It's
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Now we've
Yeah.
now probably 25% or 25 to 50% of our videos, depending on which month, are already this.
we're just trying to, you can imagine an agency, if you guys work with agencies, everything is just so specific, right? Agencies
Yeah.
are so specific, like our joke that actually happened legit was, someone was looking for a video for this product video, 15-second video, one of the shots, a cat walked through the frame, 2 seconds of a cat walking through the frame. They're like, great, do you have any pet stuff? Yeah, no problem. And Dan had directed some stuff with some dogs, and they're like, great, here's all our stuff. And they're like, this is great, but we're really looking for a cat director. I'm like, are you seriously?
This is true. This is
Seriously?
true.
I get it.
Do,
I get it.
do-
Yeah.
We've
do you
heard
have
that
any?
before.
Do you have anything with cats? We're like, no, but we have the dog. That what? Well, the clients are really specifically looking for cat shots. So it's like, okay, great, fine, and so we're trying to head it off at the pass a little bit, which is to say, like, we don't want you to like look at our site and have a mark against us because we have this and that. So we just want to try to build a brand, which all good, whatever it needs to be, that really focuses on that type of storytelling, so they can click through a bunch of things, and be like, oh great, wow, these guys are great storytellers, they're visual storytellers, they know how to build a story together. And again, like Dan said, we only have literally decades of experience of telling hundreds of thousands of stories at the Oprah show and other places. Like, we actually know what we're talking about here, so it's just trying to make it easier for the sale a bit,
Yeah.
and for us just to kind of build this separate brand.
Have you launched it
No.
already?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Soon.
It's funny that you mentioned the cat versus the dog thing, because that reminded me of something that Dario and I had to deal with last year with a corporate lead that we were trying to sell on. I forget the specific industry it was, but it was like they wanted a very straightforward explainer type promotional video, which is pretty standard. And we have, like you guys, we've done many videos like this for a lot of like finance companies, software companies, tech companies, and things like that. And we had this one client, this one lead that was, I think, a manufacturing company, and they were asking for samples, which we sent a lot of similar examples of what they were looking for. And then they came back with the question, but do you have anything specifically with a manufacturing client? And then we're like, not really, but these videos here are exactly what you are asking for, like to the T, basically. It just has a different name. It's like, no,
Right.
but do you have something with
Do you have
the
anything in a
manufacturing?
warehouse, though?
Right.
Is it a bigger
Yeah,
warehouse?
do you have anything in a
Is it
warehouse?
yellow
Yeah.
warehouse? You're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
We've been
don't-
generalists intentionally since day one, right? We work in financial vertical, healthcare vertical, product vertical, software, and it still happens. Hey, do you have anything with a conveyor belt in it? No, but
So specific, yeah.
yeah.
And the funny thing is, it sometimes is not even like a key element to what they're trying to do. It's like, what do you need? It's a one conveyor belt shot that would
It's
even
like
be
a
in the
one
video.
shot.
Well, that's what I'm
type of
saying. Yeah, it's like one shot. Well, they're real visual. They really just want to. And listen, we've pitched a million things, and you just can't. As soon as somebody asks for that, I'm like, okay, we're
done.
writing this off. We're done
We're
here.
done.
We're done
You're
here.
a little too,
I'm not gonna
you're
fight.
a little too picky. You're a little too picky
I'm not gonna
here.
fight. Right. If you, as the agency, as you as the producer, are not saying to the client, "Oh, these guys are great. They're master storytellers. They're gonna get what you need," and instead of saying they don't have any conveyor belt footage, then it's like they're not doing their job because they're not finding
Yeah.
the right best person. The client, yeah, if they think they need to see a conveyor belt, they're not wrong because they're not producers. They just know what they want. And they need a translator to say, no, don't worry about the conveyor belt. What you should be concerned with are these things. Can they tell a story? Do you like their visual language? It doesn't make a difference that that video is in an airport and yours is going to be here, but do you like how they did it? Oh, well, they're going to do ours great, I promise. Like, that's what the producer needs to be doing, because they'll find better people, they'll find them less expensive, instead of trying to find the cat director. But agency producers, just like anybody else, they're trying to make their job easy. They want it, they need to hit a home run. They don't want to argue with the client. And so, it just takes more senior people to be able to have those conversations. I really don't fault the client for saying we need a cat director. I fault the person between us for not advocating for not just us, but just anybody to say, here's what's important. A cat shot on a reel is not important. Here's what we need from this company. We're the producer. We're writing the script. I'm going to be there and say, this thing's going to be great. Don't worry. But we love this crew because she's an amazing director. He's a great shooter. They really know what they're doing. So you try to build relationships with people that become your advocates, that are nice, that do return emails, that do all those things. And it's hard. And when you run into the people that aren't, okay, you'd be pissed for an hour. You're like, he's serious. But then you got to just move on to the next thing. And I'm marking HubSpot, closed, lost, and moving on. It
It's
is
such
what
a
it is.
subjective business that you can't dwell. Right?
Yeah.
You're gonna there's
Yeah.
any number of reasons you're not gonna get a job. So
Move on.
When you don't get them, the there's a few that continue to irritate. When you don't get them because you don't get an opportunity to talk it through. When you don't get them because of ridiculous requests like conveyor belt or cat director versus dog director, like that stuff is challenging. But otherwise,
Well,
you just gotta move
also,
on.
even more than money, and occasionally you're like, oh, I really wanted that job. But occasionally you're like, damn, we would have really made that video great. Oh, that was a really interesting topic. And you're like, I just wanted to make the video because to see it. Truly. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it's whatever. Yeah, I'll go shoot the thing and do the thing. It'll be great. I promise it'll be awesome. We try really hard. But occasionally it's not the big money ones. It was ones that you were just genuinely interested in the subject matter. Like, oh, that would have been so cool to learn about that. And go to that place and to meet those people. And you're like, those are the ones that really hurt, where you
Yeah.
put in that effort. And you're genuinely passionate. Like, oh man, what an amazing organization. I'm so glad they reached out. Oh, I would crush this. This would be so great. They seem so nice. Could be such a great partnership. And for whatever reason, you don't get it. Those are the ones that bug me more, where I just felt like we were, money aside, like that would have been fun and we were a really good fit. We would have made something great,
We've had a few of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, one thing I was going to also ask was branded content is that type of content that a lot of people in our industry are always kind of like talking about trying to do more of, something that's more focused on the storytelling aspects rather than, the explainer, the classic corporate type videos. Like obviously, those are necessary videos and, they do also pay the bills, but people are always talking about doing more branded content. So how do you guys go about finding more of those stories? Because it sounds like you guys do quite a bit of that. Is it something that you kind of pitch to direct clients, or do you have a lot of agencies kind of coming to you with the concepts that you have to bid on and pitch for? Like, what has been your experience in that regard?
I'd say a little bit of both, but there's more success going direct to clients. I think branded content is just in our DNA, so it's just what we pitch when we have the opportunity to pitch a concept. Agencies come to us, but it's a very competitive. There's a lot of people doing it. So I'd say we have more success with the client side.
But how do you go about it direct to client? Because a lot of the time, at least in our situation, for example, a lot of clients come to us with very specific things like, oh, we need this kind of promotional video. We need to do an explainer video for this or something like that. And it's only like once in a blue moon where we've been able to kind of convince them to do something a little bit different. But a lot of the time they're very focused on one thing. We focus on that, and then they just kind of forget about any other ideas after that. Like, what has been your approach with trying to pitch them on those kind of more, not risky, but kind of like a little bit more experimental approaches for them, right?
Well, I think
Although, Carol, we don't really pitch branded content. Like, we might pitch
No, I know,
different
but,
types of corporate videos.
Yeah, but like we did have like that one where it was like a promotional video we did in the past, and we convinced them to do like a short documentary, but that's like a very isolated incident. But it sounds like for you guys are focused on that a lot with them. Like, how do you go about that?
One thing I would say
scenario
for us is anytime we've ever made a video for ourselves, it has gotten us work because we're doing it with conviction, we're doing it with passion, and so when we make our own branded content work, people notice it and they ask for that. So that's part of it. The other part of it is,
And you know what? Just interrupt. And not it's and that is those are passion projects. So it's not about
Yeah, yeah.
Bottle Rocket.
So it's like a short film. Like
It's a short film. We just did one about this chef and a timpano, and it was, you know, and someone else did the thing about this. You know, we're always asking, like, what should we go shoot? What should we do? And occasionally there's just time and everyone's schedule, and we, you know, pitch ideas internally, and we go make that video. You know, the company started with that. Make a video you want to make. You know, like, go make the cat video then. You know what I mean? So people go, hey, you're a cat director. You know, so we go make video, and they go, oh, I saw that Apple video, that Timpano video you made. Sorry. So just to clarify on that point.
yeah, I'd say the other part of it is circumstantial. When we shoot very efficiently because we really prep hardcore. And so anytime we go out to shoot, typically, especially in a documentary space, anytime we go out to shoot in a documentary space, you could probably make 6 different videos with that footage. So you can easily take what is a more direct, specific ask and turn it into a branded content thing, and we have done that. And then the only other way to get branded content work is to pitch it, is to roll up your sleeves, create a pitch deck, go to the company, and say, hey, we want to make this video about you. Or I guess there's one other way, and that is to make the video and then sell it after the fact. Those we've had less success with.
Less success.
Yeah.
because it's more cold pitching, right?
Yeah, well, it seems like you go make a camping video and you go, we can slap REI in this, or we can slap, this on this, or, it could be anything, or we can slap Subaru on it, and the last shot be a Subaru pulls away, or whatever, so it's like there's a lot of ways you can make content and just, modify it for them.
Yeah.
But that's a theory. That doesn't really, pay
I like
Takes a
your
lot of work
approach.
to get that to happen.
I like your approach of kind of like trying to take what they're proposing to you and then kind of figuring out a way to get them more out of it in that aspect as well. Where it's like if they're coming to you with like a very specific promotional video, if in terms of like the prep, you can kind of like work on a way to kind of develop other pieces of content that are a little bit different. Like a lot of people in the corporate space, for example, talk about doing, you do a promotional video and then you do like a 30-second like Instagram reel, maybe 5 Instagram reels that go about it. So it's kind of, you guys are kind of taking a similar approach to that, but getting a little bit more creative with the content itself in terms of how you can kind of like pitch it, like maybe do like one long form video that's like 5 minutes, but letting the client know it's like, this is what we're going to shoot for, but then we're also going to take little segments and then make a 1 minute or a 2 minute or a 30-second one or something like that. So that sounds like has been your most successful approach.
Absolutely.
To date.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys have been editing videos for a decade, right? You know how little you need to make a great video, right? So that's, again, especially in the documentary space. You have a good interview, you could shoot footage all day long, but you need very little if this footage is good to make a great video. So if you have the opportunity to shoot a bunch, there's always stuff left over. There's always footage left over, and you have to shoot a bunch. That's the way it works. Right? You can't go in and with a precise,
shoot 2 minutes of footage.
You can't go in with a precise amount of shots and think, oh, we're great, because again, in the documentary space, you don't always know what people are going to say or how they're going to say it or who's going to be better, So you have to get it all. But because you have to get it all, you can just edit videos till the cows come home all day.
You guys said that before you started pitching it, you already created like several short films of your own, right? And then
25, they said.
25?
Yeah,
25.
it said something
Oh.
about you guys mentioned 25 videos.
Oh, you mean for the branded content? Yeah,
Yeah.
we would probably there's probably a dozen or two, of things that we'll be able to move over to this new brand and be like, here's branded content,
I'm just wondering, like, how did you guys? Because it seems like you gotta, if you want to go in that direction, you gotta create some short films. So I'm just wondering, how do you guys come up with your ideas for your shorts? Like, where do you guys
Well,
go look for?
So that's the hardest part. So we're primarily nonfiction space. We do some scripted. Brett really likes scripted more than me. And so the hardest part, it is finding a person or an organization that's interesting enough to spend your own time and money and energy on. Because there are I know plenty of people that I just don't want to put on camera.
Yeah.
So that's really the hardest part. And if you're doing scripted, you need a script, and everyone knows that's the biggest challenge of them all, is to find a script that's worthwhile. So it's not easy. It's the reason we don't have as much original content as we would like, because we either don't have access to the people we want to get on camera, or don't have a script that warrants time and energy.
That's the one word I would access.
Access.
Yeah,
Access
I agree.
to the right people, to the people you need to tell the story. You can have a great idea. I want to do a documentary about this thing, about this amazing restaurant. Great. Do you know the chef? No. How about the owner? No. Do you know anyone in it? No. Yeah. Can you shoot there? I don't know. Well, then you're not making a documentary about that restaurant.
You guys are just
know?
you guys are just outlining the biggest thing that I'm wrestling with right now, because that's one thing that I'm trying to kind of figure out, not only for us, but like just to kind of like see what we can kind of create down the line to kind of elevate our offerings, elevate our content in some certain way. And a lot of it is you have to try to find different stories and a lot of the time a lot of people when they think about doing short documentaries or any kind of documentary, they always think topic first, always think topics. Like, I want to do a short documentary about chefs, like you said. It's like, okay, that's very general. Who are you going to do it with? It's like, I don't know. It's like, where do you start? How do you go about finding those interesting people? And even sometimes you find people and you talk to them, and sometimes they're into it at first, but then they're not into it later. Like, I remember I did this sports doc series. I was just kind of like shooting it back in 2019, and we were following 4 different characters, and some of the characters were great to work with. I would be able to kind of like just follow them around, talk to them, and do good interviews. And then there was just one, for example, who was just constantly late, not communicating very well, not making my job very difficult. And I learned very quickly this is a challenge that a lot of people will also face. But yeah, it really is a matter of like, you have to find the right people and the right stories. Access. That's the best way to kind of to boil it down to in one word, is like, you need access to kind of get there. Yeah. You can make great videos, but if you don't have a good subject or a good person with a story, then, and sometimes people find people but are also not looking for the right type of story. A lot of the time people need to look for a story that has some kind of, they're trying to do something. There's like a conflict that people can kind of potentially relate to, right? It's not just like, oh, I made this company and it's all great, la-di-da. It's like, okay, great. Then what?
Right.
It's like okay, like, but why should we care? Like, that's the other thing. It's like, why should people care about that story? That is a big thing as well. It's like, why do people care about this story? It's not just a story for the sake of it being a story. Right.
Plus, everyone's a filmmaker now. Go to TikTok, go to Instagram, go to Facebook. It's like, you want to do a documentary on you want to do a documentary on somebody who works with bees, beekeeper? Want to do a documentary on a beekeeper? It's a great idea. I'm fascinated by it. You know why I'm fascinated by it? Because there's 5 people on Instagram that are already doing it, and it's great to watch. So it would be hard to get that person to sit down with me to talk about it, because they're already doing it. Everybody's already doing something similar. So it's really hard to get people that don't know you to be interested in working with you.
Yeah.
You gotta invite them to a podcast. It's the only way.
That's a start. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do a general podcast, and it's like got chefs, you got a beekeeper.
Maybe that's the next podcast for us, Dario. Story searchers. You know, that could be the name. I kind of like that. We should maybe do that.
I'll go grab the domain.
Right, now that we're
Story
talking,
searchers.
maybe we should do a video. Yeah,
Yeah, but you're not wrong. Like the podcast is kind of the new frontier of documentary storytelling, because people don't have to leave their homes. They don't have to, it can be done. It can be take an hour. You can do it in as short or long increments as you want to or need to. The quality, obviously, certainly of the audio is fantastic. I mean, there's any number of reasons why the podcast is that.
Before we head off, I just had another question. When you guys were first getting into video, you noticed like a trend, right? It's almost like you guys like saw the future, not to be cliche or anything like that. And had a lot of success with it. I'm just curious, like what trends are you guys seeing nowadays?
Right, baby. Well,
good.
Sky isn't falling, but AI is definitely a thing, and it will definitely affect your business and ours. That isn't really a trend that's happening now, but I think we're minutes away from it. I just don't exactly know how it is, right?
It's like that doomsday clock, and it's like we're like a minute away from
2012.
Yeah. Right.
2012 is coming.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously everyone is waiting Sora to see what that does. I'm eager to see what, since I use everything Adobe and I use Photoshop, generative AI, I'm waiting to see what Premiere looks like. What you're able to do inside Premiere.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a game changer, I think. Certainly if I were a drone pilot with what I've seen on Sora, I'd be concerned. But working with real people and working with, specific content, I'm not overly concerned, but I think it is going to affect our business. I think there are a lot more in-house departments now. There's a lot of displaced marketing people and film students, and with the desire to be on TikTok and things be more immediate and faster, there's more in-house happening. I don't know how many of our clients ask you for TikTok videos, but
surprisingly not that many, but
we don't move fast enough to do that, because if you're doing TikTok, you want it on today.
Yeah, it's got to be really quick.
So I'm seeing that.
I actually just thought of an idea that I think a lot of clients might actually like, because I know this one wedding studio, for example. You know how like when wedding companies typically produce wedding videos, they take weeks, months sometimes to produce and things like that. So one thing that there's like this trend in the wedding industry where they're getting people to come in on the day of to do behind the scenes kind of social media content and stuff like that, and then next day they have a video like that.
No, so not even the next day, Kirill. It's
like just the day of. Yeah, they're basically posting as it goes,
like TikToks. Yeah.
So maybe that is going to be a new job position for a lot of productions and companies down the road, and likely will be an in-house type role as well.
Yeah.
And like I'm looking at a lot of like bigger organizations and things like that have like in-house content creators and producers, and one that really fascinates me is that I'm a big soccer fan, so I follow a lot of soccer clubs also on LinkedIn, just kind of seeing how they go about running a soccer club as a business. And some of the really big ones in Europe, for example, they have their own in-house content creators that just focus on that. They have social media content creators that are constantly posting. Like I'm following it, and just I'm like, because also the business mind behind it, I'm like thinking about, okay, how do they go about constantly creating all this stuff on a day-to-day basis? They produce amazing branded stories as well. It's like the whole range from like basic social media to highly produced branded content. And these are just all internal teams as well. So it's something I'm just kind of exploring more of now.
That's actually a really good idea, Kirill. Like bringing on like a content creator
for all of our
like,
shoots, because it's
for a
like
shoot, yeah. It
like,
won't even cost that much, to be honest with you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone with
There's
a
some
phone.
amazingly talented people, like you said, the barrier of entry has never been lower, right? Who are raised on shooting, recording audio, then editing it, then throwing in a graphic. Like they can do it all, and once they know what the brand is, they're really able to capture it, effortlessly.
Yeah, because one thing that's very popular with a lot of productions is, getting behind the scenes content, which you do need to get, to use as promotional material later on in video, right? Like, or like as a production company, you want to be able to promote yourself a little bit, show a bit of behind the scenes. But you're always kind of like juggling, like, okay, who's grabbing a quick social media clip here and there? Sometimes I'm like, Dario, like, quickly grab something, like, and we're trying to do it with little DJI cameras and things like that, and sometimes just like a dedicated like mini DSLR just to get some nice like high quality images and stuff like that. But I think just having like maybe a dedicated social media person who's there, like you said, Brett, knows the brand, knows what you're going for, knows how to capture it on the day of. Quick shots here and there, posts right away, and then, yeah, like maybe that's the evolution for even video production companies. Get those.
I think I would say that's absolutely, talking about trends, if we're not there already where it's going. I'm not exactly sure how to capitalize on it yet, but we have been talking about it because people do want everything more immediate.
Yeah, and a lot of pieces of content too, right? Because again, with social media, you got to keep constantly feeding the beast, right? Otherwise,
yeah. Right. That would be a great add-on for clients too, because you're like, not only is that BTS content good for you, it's great for the client, and that's something you can pitch to them with as well. It's like, look, we're going to create this like really high quality content for you, which is obviously needed, but do you want to also create something for your social media? And I feel like a lot of medium-sized businesses are going to especially be wanting to jump on that, because the more content that they can get, the better typically, right? So, then literally the social media person has a very specific job that day, which is to capture the essence of like what the client is about, what we're trying to do, and get creative with that, right? It's almost like when you're video shooting alongside photo, but now this is like the third role, as well on shoots, and like. Before you know it, it's like every production is going to have like 4 or 5 people doing different jobs. It's almost going to be like a wedding, It's like there's the couple, there's the client, at the end of the day.
There's the planner.
The planner, the florist,
Trying to get as much as you can out of that day.
Oh my God, this industry is just evolving like crazy.
Yep, nuts.
But anyways, guys, we've already gone way past the hour mark, but we really appreciate you jumping on board. And I really like some of the ideas and things that we've already discussed on this. Like, I know Dario and I are, after this call, are going to be like, all right.
Honestly, when you said the social media person, I was like, oh my God, that's true. Why didn't we think about that? It's so easy to add on.
Well, so there are entire agencies down here that only do that.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, really?
I know it's like a marketing agency thing. So as soon as, Kirill, you mentioned it, I'm like, we could easily just add it on, and that kind of makes us look more well-rounded, right?
Yeah.
Completely new offering.
It's definitely not a new idea, but I think it's catching on. I think
no, it's not. It's not a new idea, but for like to have like the video production company just tack it on, I think is definitely new, right?
It's a new use case, essentially, right? It's like utilizing a resource that's going to be beneficial to not only the client, but also to the production company as well, because there is something to that.
Yeah, like we know several people that have their own wedding production companies, and the extra social media person is like a 2023 phenomenon or 2022 phenomenon. So I know that like this year I've noticed they started just offering that themselves instead of like the couple getting someone else to do it. So it makes sense, I guess. Yeah. For us to do the same.
Well, gents, such a pleasure. I'm glad we got to connect, and thanks for having us on.
Yeah, likewise.
Thank you.
So if people want to find you, it's bottlerocketmedia.net, and you guys are based in Chicago.
Yes.
And what are your socials? Is it Bottle Rocket Media?
Bottle Rocket Media 312 It's most everything that's Chicago.
Is that the area code?
It is.
Is it Bottle Rocket Media 312 or Bottle Rocket 312?
Oh.
I'll check
Check
right
that real quick.
Everyone is
we
like,
end the
oh, yeah. What is our
episode?
socials?
It's like I don't know my own office. I don't know the phone number to the office. Because I never
Bottle
called.
Rocket 312.
Bottle Rocket 312.
Ah, okay.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
I haven't been to Chicago yet, but when I do go down there, I will hit you guys up and we'll
please.
grab some drinks.
For sure.
great.
For
Sounds
sure.
great.
It's the season. If you're going to go, you got about a 2-month window.
Yep.
Only 2 months?
Really
That's
nice.
it?
This is it.
It's very nice here.
May and June. No, June and July.
And then what? It just gets really hot?
It gets really hot, and then it gets really cold, and then it gets really humid, and then it's nice for 2 months.
It just sounds like Toronto,
So
honestly.
yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like
Yeah,
you're-
yeah.
Like, we're
It's
used
not
to
very-
this.
It's not very different from Toronto. Yeah, exactly.
You guys aren't that... I mean, Chicago's far, but not that far. Like,
No, it's
Oh,
not
no,
that
not
far.
at all.
Not at all.
cool.
All right.
All right, let's end this episode. All right, thank you
Thanks,
guys.
guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of Creatives Grab Coffee. Please make sure to follow and engage with us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and your favorite podcast app.
Creatives Grab Coffee is created by Labs Productions, a video production company based in Toronto, Canada.
Creatives Grab Coffee is also sponsored by...
My name is Miran. Welcome to Canada Film Equipment. We are a boutique rental house based in Toronto. We are here to help you guys out with all production sizes. Feel free to contact us to get a quote if you are a production house and you're looking for lighting, camera packages, or lighting and group band packages. You can see our contact information in the link below. We are more than happy to help you guys out. Make sure you follow and subscribe to creativesgrabcoffee.com. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Matt. Welcome to Audio Process. We are a boutique audio company doing location sound, sound design, post-sound, ADR, Foley. We service equipment. We do all your audio needs here in Toronto. We got you covered. Come on down, audioprocess.ca. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and all of the other internet things to creativesgrabcoffee.com. They'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting for you, and we're all going to have a real good time.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.